This show is produced by the Harwood Podcast Network.
Hi, I'm Cindy Harris, and we love making this show available to you free of charge. If you'd like to help us keep it that way, make a contribution to our Karma Jar. For more information, visit our website. Today I'm making two delicious pizzas, Pizza Bianca and Pizza Margherita. I recently got an email from Phil, and he was telling me how much he was enjoying the series of shows that I was doing featuring the Alfresco Imports Beehive Oven. And he wondered if I could do a show just on cooking pizzas in the Beehive Oven. And I said, sure, that would be great. So here they are, Phil. Now, if you want to follow along with the recipes while I'm cooking these pizzas, get your smartphone and scan the QR code here on the screen. That way you can follow along. Both of these pizzas are easy to make and have fantastic flavor. Now the first pizza I'm going to make today is a Pizza Bianca, and Bianca is Italian for the word white. So this is a white pizza. It has no tomatoes on it, but we do want to get a really awesome flavor. So what I'm going to do is make a flavored oil. So in a small bowl, I'm going to put in about 2 tablespoons of olive oil. And to that, 1 minced clove of garlic and a pinch of red pepper flakes. And I'm going to stir this up, and I'm going to let this sit for about a half an hour to an hour. I want to infuse all that great garlic and red pepper flake flavor into that oil, and when we brush it on the pizza, it's going to taste really good. Now, while the wood oven is getting up to temperature, let me share with you some of the other ingredients that I'm going to be taking out. First, of course, is the dough. Now, you have a couple of choices. Today, I'm using some of my flatbread dough that comes from the Daily Bread podcast that I do, but you could also use the quick rising pizza dough that's also in the Daily Bread podcast. Either one will work. The reason I'm using the flatbread today is because I actually made this overnight, and it can sit in the refrigerator and rise slowly, so that's kind of handy. Now, to help shape my pizza, I've got a little bit of flour. I've got some semolina flour to put on my pizza peels to help it slide around. And then once I shape my pizza, I need to get the rest of the toppings besides the oil ready. I've got some mozzarella cheese. Now, I'm using a whole milk mozzarella today. I have some shaved Parmesan cheese, some fresh arugula from the garden. And for a little meat, I'm going to be using some mild coppa salami today. Now, you could also use prosciutto or a Genoa salami or, any kind of thinly sliced Italian meat that you like. So now that the wood oven is ready, let's go out and make Pizza Bianca. I'll begin by getting my thermometer out and scanning to the edge of the fire, and I can see it's between 850 and 900 degrees, which is just what I want. But now I need to get the deck of the oven heated up, because that's actually where I'm going to cook the pizza. So I'm going to use my great little scraper and brush tool that I got at Alfresco Imports, and I'm going to bring the fire out onto the deck. Now, while that's heating up, I've got my pizza peel. I'm going to put some of the semolina flour on top of it, and then get my little bit of all-purpose flour and my dough, and I'm going to start pressing that out onto my peel. Now, if you find the dough to be sticky, don't hesitate to use some of your flour both on the dough and in your hands. We're going to start pressing this out into a round. Now, pizza dough is very elasticy. It's got a lot of gluten that's developed. So what I do is I put my hand in the center, and then I pull the sides out, because we do want this to be a thin crust. So just keep going around until it gets sort of into a circle. And I've got a little pastry brush. I'm just going to mix up my oil again and then brush that onto the dough. Now you want to make sure that you leave an edge, about a 1-inch edge all the way around. And then I've got my whole milk mozzarella, and with whole milk you can't really shred it with a grater, so I just pull it apart into pieces. And then this is the arugula from the garden. Now these are pretty big pieces, so I am going to just tear them in half and lay them on top of the mozzarella. And now it's time to get out the coppa salami, and though it's been sliced into little rounds, I like to tear up the meat so it's kind of irregular, and I just place that all over the top of the pizza. I'm going to top it with a little bit of Parmesan cheese. This is shaved cheese today, but you could easily use shredded. And then I like to finish it with a sprinkling of ground oregano. Now it's time to bank our fire, so I'm going to get my brush and scraper tool. I'm going to move it over to the left side of the oven, trying to scrape as much of that ash back as I can. And I'm going to add just a couple little pieces of wood, because when the fire starts to die down, it will start to smoke, which I don't want. I see the temperature on the deck is about 650 degrees, which is perfect. And now it's time to slide our pizza in. Now notice I'm kind of hugging it against the fire, and I'm going to let it sit here for about 1 minute. During that first minute, the crust starts to solidify a little bit, and then I can use my long tongs and start to rotate the pizza. That's how I like to cook it, very controlled. And you'll notice I'm starting to get a little bit of browning on the edges. That's what I'm looking for. So as soon as I start to see I've got a little bit of browning going on, I just grab it with my tongs and keep rotating it in a circle. You see that nice brown color there on the left? That's what I really, really want to see all along the edge of the pizza. And I just keep sitting with it and turning it nice and slowly until I get exactly the color I want. And once it's the way I want it, I'm going to take my metal spatula that I got at Alfresco Imports, and I'm going to slide the pizza on, and I'm going to hold it up into the dome of the oven for just about 5 seconds. And it just kind of gives a quick sizzle to the top and browning that I love. And now I'm just going to pull it off onto my peel that I'll cut it on. Now here's our pizza Bianca. And I'm going to go ahead and cut it. And the flavor is fantastic. The key really is to season that oil, that little bit of garlic. I love the whole milk mozzarella on this pizza because it really melts so beautifully, and as it starts to brown, it gives a great flavor. And that little bit of arugula gives it a really nice interest. And I love tearing that really thin salami because it just kind of crackled fries as it's in the wood oven. Now the next pizza I'm going to make is pizza margherita. And this is funny because here in California, whenever we hear the word margarita, we instantly think of the wonderful Mexican cocktail that's made with tequila. It's so good, but that's not what this is. This is a different margarita. This is Queen Margherita, and she was the Queen of Italy in the late 1800s. And this pizza was named in honor of her. In fact, at some banquet they were having, one of the chefs decided to make a pizza that had the colors of the Italian flag. So here's what goes into a pizza margherita. First, you need to have a round of pizza dough or flatbread dough. Again, both of the recipes are at the Daily Bread. I like to have a little bit of flour to help me shape the round, and the semolina flour to help it slide on the peel. Now, once I have the pizza shaped out, the colors of the Italian flag are first red, and this is the pizza sauce that I make. Again, the recipe is on the Daily Bread Pizza Show. It only takes about 15 minutes, but it's so delicious and flavorful. So this is the sauce. Then for the green part of the flag, we use fresh basil leaves. And for the white part, we use mozzarella. Now, for this pizza margherita, I'm going to be using a fresh mozzarella, but you could certainly use whole milk. And then we want a little bit of Parmesan cheese to top. So let's go out and make our pizza margherita. Now when you're cooking pizza in your wood oven, you always want to check the deck. Now you can see this is lower than 600 and I really want it to be about 650. So that tells me I need to get my scraper tool and bring my fire down onto the deck. It won't need to sit for too long, just long enough to kind of heat it back up, maybe a couple of minutes, and then again bank that fire over to the left. If you find you've got enough flame going and there's no smoke, you don't need to add any more wood. This looks great. So I'm going to go ahead and start making my pizza. So I've got my peel and I'll put a little bit of semolina flour, and again using all-purpose flour because sometimes this dough is a little bit sticky. You don't need to use a lot, but you don't want it to be sticking to your hands too much. And you can go ahead and press it out like we did the other one. But if you get a little bit more confident, one of the things you can do is once you get it into a small circle like this, take and with your knuckles kind of stretch the dough out, and you can see there's so much gluten in this pizza dough you can get away with that. Then a spoonful of the pizza sauce. Again, we want to leave a little bit of a border, and with this sauce you can freeze the rest of this, so that's a really good thing to remember. And now our beautiful basil leaves, and again I like to tear them up. Sometimes people like to leave them whole, but these are such huge leaves that I want to tear them up all over the top of the sauce. And then I'm going to get my fresh mozzarella. Now this is usually very wet, so you can see I have to crumble it up into some small pieces, and you'll find that you want to really scatter this well all over the top of your basil. And now comes the Parmesan cheese. I'm just going to sprinkle that lightly on top of the mozzarella. And then to finish this pizza, I like to do just a little bit of drizzle of olive oil on the top. Now it's time to slide it into the oven, and see, using that semolina flour, it shifts really nicely on that peel. And again, I want to let it sit for 1 minute so it can kind of solidify, and then I can use my long tongs to start moving it around to get that great color on the edges. This color is really looking good to me. So now what I'm going to do is get my metal pizza peel out, and with my long tongs I'm just going to drag it on top. And then again, I like to get just a little bit of color on the top, so I hold it up for about 5 seconds, then I have a look, and if it's not quite enough I go another 5 seconds, but it doesn't take much more than that because that's where all the heat is going into the top of the oven, and that looks delicious. So now it's time to transfer that onto my secondary peel where I can cut it up and try it. And here is our pizza margherita. It smells so good. Now I wanted to show you, when you use a fresh mozzarella cheese, you do have to put little bits all around because it doesn't melt quite as fluidly as the whole milk mozzarella, so do keep that in mind. So let me cut this up. Well, this pizza really does look like the Italian flag. You've got all that great red tomato sauce, the white cheese, and the basil. You want to make sure that you put that basil underneath the cheese, because basil has a tendency to kind of singe really quickly and you don't want to lose that flavor. It's so delicious. It's got a really fresh flavor. I'd like to thank my friends at Alfresco Imports. I just love cooking in their beehive oven. It's so much fun, and you can see having a party where you're cooking in the beehive would be a lot of fun. In fact, if you want to try making pizza Bianca or pizza margherita, just go to our website and I'll have the recipes there for you at the Easy Entertaining show notes. If you do make pizza, please send me a photo so that I can send you the pizza badge. Do make sure to join us on Facebook. We have a wonderful community, and that's where my vlogs first go up. And as always, if you have any questions or ideas for me like Phil had, please send me an email. I'll see you next time.